Happy Friday, y'all. Well, it's Saturday morning again. It's just after midnight, and I'm having my just before bedtime twinkle twinkle time. And it's the moon is out. Let me see if I can capture it. There we go. Yeah, it's a nice little full moon. And just sitting here, just processing some things in my real life. um, so there's a lot that I'm processing in a good way, and I'm just reflecting on some things that I was having a conversation a couple of days ago, actually, and y'all, it's midnight and the birds are chirping. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? That's new for me in America. Like when I'm in other countries, I pay attention to the night life of the animals and our fellow earth dwellers. So this is awesome and new. I'm not going to be on here long, but as I was just sitting here purveying, I think that's the word that I'm thinking about, the night sky and the stars and the moon and the energy and element overall, I was reflecting on a conversation that I was having earlier this week where how I was reflecting on the so-called older I get, the more peace matters to me in everything. And what I mean is, I'm intentional. I'm more intentional about how I move, live, breathe, navigate, interact, and who I have access to me and who I engage with and interact with, especially on a social level. I live a very quiet life, and I'm so grateful to be in this space socially because I don't have to allow individuals to have access to me or be in proximity to me because for the majority of it, it is wanting to have consumption as a resource. I'm a resource of consumption for them. And I'm not trying to make that into a negative space or statement because that doesn't make them malicious. It just has me realize that this is not what I'm here for. And the consumption can be in a lot of ways. It could be for a level of wisdom, a level of intellect, a level of novelty, inspiration consumption, psychological consumption, and that could be as simple as they're, playing 21 questions about how I do my life the way I do, which it had taken me a while to get to this space in life, in real life, of really screening people's intentions on why they're asking certain questions. And then being able to allow my voice to do the rest of letting them know it's not their business. Say, for instance, when I'm abroad, a lot of individuals like to, once they find out I'm from America, they like to inquire on the political aspect. And one thing I'm not going to do is discuss politics with anybody while I'm abroad because it's just, something personal. For whatever reasons I have of who I go with, if I go with anybody politically. And B, most times it's to not have a intellectually stimulating conversation or meeting of the minds to some resolve. It's just to size you up and, kind of categorize you in a way. So I don't really get off into those spaces with individuals of conversation. Um, and I've learned that over the years, just don't. Because even here in the States, I don't speak openly in social settings with individuals about my political views, if I have them, and where they stand. So same is true for financial things. That same is true for just the decisions that I make in life overall. It's pretty much on a need to know basis. And that need to know basis has to be screened by me. So, and that comes from a lot of things of just how I have been overall conditioned in this society. And it's a very heavily performative society. And so I have found my peace in not being performative in real life. So, there are individuals who come around who are expecting reciprocal conversation just because they're bored, or just because they want something to do, or they're interested in you and your presence. And you owe them nothing. And I'm saying this for anyone who's listening who may be struggling with that, because it's a space that I've had to be in. What has helped me do that is, I gotta say it, being abroad. Because the beauty of being abroad in most cases is that I was in countries where my native tongue was not spoken. So, and I didn't look like a lot of the natives in those countries. So when my presence would be there physically, I would not be incited for conversation in a lot of cases, unless somebody was being nosy, or it was a really truly needed to know basis of my purpose and presence in that space. But I would be very selective about who and when and if I communicated with those individuals, because I also do know that when they would hear my American accent and English speaking, that they would start to gravitate towards me in a way that was all about the USD and nothing about the true me, right? And I will say this, I did get a chance to pick up an opportunity to start teaching my voice, or using my voice for teaching purposes, tutoring purposes actually, because I don't feel like teaching anybody anything colloquially. But I don't mind tutoring those who are already somewhat familiar and or defined in the language of American English, and specifically American English. So it's a very nuanced language also. So I have to sit down and really be one-on-one with a lot of my students and explain to them why certain things are said in the American language, so that they understand what they're doing and what they're saying, and not come into a lot of conflict conflict within their practicing of the language in social settings, professional settings, which a lot of them are, I'm assisting them with in their learning to navigate the American English language culture. But yeah, so getting back to and circling back to that space of just who and how and why I allow certain individuals to have access to me. Because there has been a lot of time and opportunity where individuals truly just want to have proximity. They think that because they can have proximity or access or interaction, that will evolve their life in some kind of way. And that's a level of projection that I'm not in the space of performing in real life anymore. And so I leave a lot of people hanging unapologetically, okay? Because if that's not what I signed up for, and you may have had in your POV that that's what I was going to do, then you're going to be disappointed heavily, because that's not what I'm here for. Absolutely not. And that's not a true recognition of my being. It also is a form of dehumanizing a person, because you're not seeing them for who they truly are and allowing them to be who they are. You're wanting them to fulfill a certain level of engagement or participation or performance that you want them to do. And that's not cool, not right, not fair. And that speaks to the lack of development of mindfulness as well as self, so that you don't put that kind of expectation on someone else. I think this is also coming from a conversation I was having about individuals have this expectation that you're supposed to make them happy. And reality is that no, they're supposed to make their own selves happy. If anything, they should would like for you to share the happiness with them, but not give it to them. That's not something you can give anybody, and that's something I've had to have a long lesson. Also, nobody can make me happy. I make myself happy. I just appreciate when there's an alignment where I'm able to share that happiness with another individual. And it can be reciprocal. You understand? Because if it's not reciprocal, then that means I'm giving and I'm pouring from a cup. And it's not reciprocal. And I also prefer and only entertain and engage with individuals who are reciprocal and have intentional spaces in which we both can navigate, grow, and enjoy the space that we may share and or dwell in. And that's just in, a general conversation at Walmart. Well, I don't do Walmart, but like if I'm at Trader Joe's and, I run across somebody and they may give me a compliment, I thank them and I keep going. Yes. It's not necessarily, oh, now they're my friend or, we should exchange numbers because now they want, tips and tricks of how I, look the way I do or I smell the awesome scent that I have. Yeah, I've had to do that. And even just this year alone, we're not even in June yet, or we're just now about to hit June. And I've had to, mitigate quite a few individuals away from me who they meant well, and it's not their fault really, because this is just the conditioning of our overly performative society. It literally goes back to that. But there was this expectation that I was supposed to just openly share my space, my energy, my wisdom, or whatever, psychological free thoughts or whatever, with them just because they had access and or proximity to me in maybe a professional that they wanted to turn more casual and more maybe socially intimate space. And I was not in that, it didn't feel like an aligning thing because it still was a performative space, and I'm not anyone's entertainer, not in real life, absolutely not. So yeah, hopefully this is not like a word salad. I'm getting ready to get off of here. Like I said, I'm only going to be on here long. But while I was also twinkling here, um, I was contemplating an article that I had read a while ago that was speaking about these huge pockets of plasma that are in the ionosphere. They were detected by some satellites. I think that's what they are. Satellites in China, some parts of China. And they were picking them up from China all the way into what's happening or what has been happening in Giza, Egypt, where the pyramids are, 3 pyramids. They were able to pick up bodies of plasma floating over the pyramids. And I thought that was amazing. And it's something that I have been definitely paying attention to, because that definitely affects the environment. And it also works in tandem. Just me speaking on a more in-depth level, it definitely picks up as well as transmute certain elements and energies in tandem with the pyramids energy. I'm trying to say it without saying too much, because there's a lot that I got living so close to that area for a year. I literally, one of my apartments in Egypt, I was literally a 5-minute walk away from the Sphinx. I didn't disclose that social media wise because, yeah, I had interesting characters that were trying to find out my location, my residential location while I was in Egypt, and that was not up for disclosure. So, but yeah, at one point in time, I literally had a lovely view of the pyramids from my terrace, my balcony, at night. And so it was really beautiful. But at any rate, the plasma bubbles that are in pockets that are sitting over the pyramids, and they've been hovering and floating over the pyramids for some time. I'm going to go and search the link, and I will probably put it in the comment section of this post, and you can read it for yourself. So you know I'm not making it up. But I thought it's quite interesting to analyze that in conjunction with, at that time, that's when the solar flares, X-class solar flares were happening, something deep around July of, was it 2023? Yeah, because I just moved to that area. But in 2023, summer 2023. And I think it's kind of interesting that I'm mentioning that now, because here we are going into June, and the Lions Gate energy is getting ready to happen and unfold for the next couple of months. So it's going to be nice to be in tune with that kind of energy, in retrospect and in real time. And also thinking about what is happening. A couple of video or lives ago, I spoke about briefly the ley lines and the coordinate points, and the North Pole, or the polar shifts anyway on this planet, and how that's affecting our navigation abilities in real time. I also was thinking about how that's also impacting that in conjunction with the solar flares are are impacting what's happening in Antarctica also. So I'm excited. I'm gonna get on off here because I can go deeper and deeper, but I think I'm gonna just shut it on down and go take my ass to bed. Okay, y'all stay delicious and twinkle twinkles. Peace.